Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Bree, if you don't already know. And today we are doing a requested video, which is my base makeup routine. So without further ado, let's get started. First, of course, we're gonna get our hair out of our face. And then I like to use the Milani Skin Quenching Primer. And I take about that much. I kind of like to do a patting and rubbing motion. All right, and then I'm taking the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Concealer in the shade Fair 10N. Going to just put a swipe there and then some on my problem spots, including here. Oh my gosh. Then I'm gonna take a dampened Real Techniques beauty sponge and lightly tap that out, but for the most part I want to leave a thin layer of it to dry down. I don't want to blend it all the way in. I always like to put some concealer over my eyebrows. Oops. Before I do them, I just feel like it gives a nice little base for them. Alright, so there are a few different brow products that I love and use on the regular. One of them being the Ulta Beauty Brow Pomade. This one is in the shade Dark Brown. The next one I have is the Rude Cosmetics Double Agent Brow Pencil. One side is a pencil and the other side is powder. I don't use the powder, but I like the pencil. Next, of course, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz. This one is in the shade Medium Brown. And then I love, love, love this Lift and Snatch Brow Tint Pen from NYX. Is that upside down? I don't know, but I love it. So for today, I'm gonna skip the pomade and just do a brow pencil. I am just gonna be using the pencils and the pen today. But if you were to do brow pomade, it's similar concept. You just wanna take a small flat angled brush or even something like this for like eyeliner would be fine. So for my brows, I like to start kind of around here. I don't want to bring it up too far at first because I don't want to get too harsh of a line. And that's especially important with pomade because you have a lot of product on the brush at first. So I just apply that rule to all of my products that I use. So we're going to start here at the bottom and make a nice little curve going down. And then go to the top, make a nice curve going down, and connect them at the bottom. Now, as you can see, I messed up a little bit because I don't have a mirror in front of me, just my camera. But we can go back in, clean it up. It is also, I will add, easier if you have eyebrows. Currently, I shaved the bottom half of my eyebrows off for a makeup look. Even though I said I wouldn't do it again, I did it, so. And then you just want to fill that in. I like to go a little bit darker on the ends, and then I'm gonna flip it. So I had it this way, I'm gonna flip it this way, and very light-handedly just brush that over my front brow hairs. Nice brow. All right, so to demonstrate how I clean up my brows, I made this one super messy, and I did mess up just a little bit on this side, but what I like to do is go back in with my concealer. I smack it directly on to my face. You can put it on the brush first and then go in, but that's not what I do. It's totally up to you. I will need a mirror for this probably. So a lot of people, when they clean up their brows, you'll see them use a flat brush with a flat top. Mine is a little bit rounded at the top, but that's totally okay. So I'm just going to start cleaning this one up. I'm going to start in the front and carefully kind of go back and forth. Same thing. You can do it in one big swoop like this, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to go back and forth. Make sure you have that control, and then I like to blend it up and out. Now, you don't always have to go in and carve your brows out. I just find that it helps especially if you're doing a full glam look. Helps to keep them really sharp and nice. Okay. So we can see that this one is a little bit thicker than this one, and that's totally okay. We just have to go back and forth, take a look, go back in and thin it out. You could add some more concealer if you need to, and I do. So I'm just gonna put another little dot on the top there. All right, so now I'm going to take the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. This is in the shade Ash Brown. And I'm going to lightly add in some hairs over here. You want to just lightly touch and flick up. Now it's important not to get discouraged when it comes to your eyebrows, because eyebrows are hard to get even for, you know, sometimes professionals. So it's important to have grace and be patient with yourself. I've been doing my brows like this for a long time and I mess them up all the time. So no worries if you do too. All right, so for our eyes, what I like to do is go back in with that same concealer and set some of that down onto the lid to prime them. Blend it out nicely and then put down some eyeshadow. So for today, I'm gonna keep it very simple since we're trying to focus on my base. I'm just gonna put a brown shade all over my lid. Alright, so for my eyeshadow today, like I said, I'm going to keep it pretty basic, but I am going to go in with the Morphe 18W Natural Wonder palette. And I'm going to be using the Morphe M331 blending brush. Before you put any eyeshadow on, if you didn't set it before, you want to make sure that you blend out those creases that occur when you're blinking. But I'm just going to go in with this shade here. And rock that back and forth. When you see this, don't freak out. Keep putting your brush at the end. And you can do rocking back and forth motions, or you can do smaller circular motions. Look at how beautifully that blended out. Onto the other eye and re-blend out that concealer. I think just to spice it up a tad, I'm going to go in with this color right underneath of it. And yes, I'm going in with the same brush. I'm just going to put that down right here on the outer corner of the lid. Flick that up a little bit. And then make sure it's nice and blended out. Just to add a little bit of something. We don't want to be too neutral today. There's a beautiful shimmer in this palette right here. Gorgeous. I'm going to put that on my finger and just put it mostly on the inner portion of the lid. Gorgeous. I am not trying to flip you guys off right now. I'm so sorry. All right, so there are a couple ways you can apply your foundation. So in my opinion, both of these options are great because I do not like the feeling of makeup on my fingers and on my hands, so I apply it on my face. People also say not to apply it onto your brush. You can, but it's your makeup, you know, do what you want. So I'm going to take almost about a half a pump on each side, a little bit less on the forehead, a little bit less here. Take it, kind of swipe it out, and then you can start bouncing it out onto the skin like you would with a sponge. Now we're going to go in with our ColourPop concealer once again. I'm going to just put a little bit of that under the eyes and a little bit on that spot on my forehead again. We'll use the sponge today. I like to drag it down just a little bit and then out. Now, if you are not someone who does their brows and eyeshadow before their base, which I have done a multitude of times, that's not a rule. You can do it before or after. For more glam, messy looks, I prefer to do it before, so that I can use the concealer to clean it up afterwards. But usually what I would do is throw on my foundation, throw on my concealer, and I would also close my eye and bring that up onto my eye, set all of it, and then do what I want to do. So now I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder in the shade 05 Fair. So you want to make sure you go back in where you put your concealer and on your creases before you put the powder on, so that there aren't lines of product sitting there. And I put it everywhere. Not everyone does that, and you do not have to. Find what works for you and roll with it. You may notice you get some powder into your brows, but we haven't gelled them down yet. We haven't set them, so that is totally okay. One of my favorite bronzers that I've used for a long time is the Milani bronzer Silky Matte in the shade Sunlight 01. Love, love, love this bronzer. I dipped in 3 or 4 times. It's pretty light. I mistakenly bought a shade that might have been a little too light for me, but that's okay. I'm just gonna start right up here on top of the cheekbone. Keep it very high up, keep it lifted at first. That's where you really want to concentrate it, and then you can start to feather that down. And then I like to, because of my face shape, put it here. If you have a different face shape than mine, I would recommend to take a little bit under the chin as well. Right, now that we've got that done, I'm going to be using the Ulak blush in the shade Petal Blossom. A couple dips in there, and then right above where we put that bronzer. Also, if you would like to see more of my eye makeup tutorials, I do post quite a few of those on my TikTok page at Brianna Renee. So I go in with that same bronzer, and instead of that bigger, fluffy, angled brush, I like to go in with this brush. It may be a little bit big, but as long as you can get a nice angle to keep it pretty sharp, then you should be good. How you do your nose contour also does depend on your nose shape. So also look into that. Look up some different ways to do nose contour. It's not a one size fits all, and that is very important to note. Gonna blend that out. Got a little bit on the bottom, and I think that looks pretty good. Now for my full glam moments, I like to add a lot more bronzer and a lot more blush. This is good placement for that, so you can just keep dipping in and keep going. I usually always like to do pretty bold highlights. So this brush is honestly kind of similar to the brush from before shape-wise. Now you can see this one has frayed out quite a lot. I've had it for a very long time, but a brush like this would work as well because it has a very nice angle, you know? Anyways, so we are going to go in with the Revolution Reloaded highlighter in the shade Set the Tone. I like to put that above where I put the blush and actually bring it down a little bit further than where I put the blush. Mix of swiping, circular motions are good. You can put a little bit on the Cupid's bow. I usually don't. And then for the nose highlight, I like to go in with my pinky, put a dot on the end there, and then a line down the center. I usually do the line 1 or 2 times depending on, and then you want to make sure to go in on that dot and just blend it out a little bit. We don't want, you know, a giant powdery dot on our nose, but cute. You can also do an inner corner highlight for your eye, which I think just kind of brings everything forward, brings everything together. All right, for mascara, I am going to go in with the Clinique the Clinique High Impact Hi-Fi Full Volume Mascara, and throw that on to my lashes. I like to do my bottom lashes as well. I didn't for a very long time, but not everyone does. For my neutral everyday kind of lip, I like to go in with the Essence 8 Hour Matte lip liner. This one, I'm not sure what the shade name is. All right. So for my lips, I think I want to do a mix of two different lipsticks. This one is the Jeffree Star lipstick in the shade Chocolate Fondue. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? And it smells like chocolate. So I'm going to focus that mostly on the outer parts. Very nice. And then more towards the middle, this is the this one smells so good as well. This is the Nude Envy lipstick in the shade Attitude. Throw that in the middle there. All right, so there is the final look. That is how I do my base makeup plus my everyday makeup. If you are trying to glam it up and make it better, then just keep adding more. But yeah, I think it looks really great and it turned out good. Thank you so much.